Hello guys, good morning and welcome back. All right, so in this video I want to briefly analyze to us how we can train our apprentices, right? I made a video on how you can pay your workers in my last video I made. So this video is going to tell us how to effectively train your apprentices. Now, some of us are always having issues on how to train people, how to communicate our knowledge to people, to our students, those who wants to learn under us. Now, I know that there are what we call, there's a big difference between knowing how to sew and knowing how to teach, right? But however be the case, it is advisable you balance the equation. Now, how are you going to balance the equation? Even though you don't know how to teach or you don't know how to come about teaching, just assume that you are talking to yourself. Don't have the mindset of somebody is listening to you. That thing you are doing, sometimes when you're working, you are just running the knowledge through your mind, through your head, your hands, trying to bring whatever your brain interprets. So your hand is bringing it to action or to physicality, right? So when you are teaching, it is just assumed that you are voicing those things in your head to the um to the ears of your students. Now, how do you voice it? Now, it is also very interesting for you to know that you need to start from the least form of explanation. Assume the person as a layman, because any apprentice is a layman in that field, right? Regardless of the age, the level of education, his capabilities, and everything, everybody is a layman in any field he or she finds herself for the very first time. So now you have to start from scratch, from tape reading. You have to explain to your students how to read the tape, and this will be done repeatedly. It is not done only once or twice or three times. No, repeated lectures on how to read the tape. After that, you teach them as well how to take an appropriate measurement, because measurement serves as the foundation of any perfect outfit. And you and I know that there is no way they can learn how to measure without knowing how to read the tape. Tape reading might look simple to you, but it's not simple to a beginner in the fashion business, right? So when you make a time to teach people how to read the tape, how to take measurements, you have started teaching them in a very perfect order. Then after that, you can just teach them some fabric names, some sewing accessories names, sewing equipment names, just make them get to learn by terms, by knowledge and by seeing. Then after which, you now take them to machine, whether manual or industrial, so teach them how to use it. I prefer teaching people how to use industrial now because industrial is taking over. So if you happen to have industrial, teach them how to use industrial. Now, some persons will counter this, but don't forget that there will be a day you will need the assistance in that work you are doing. And imagine your students does not know how to use industrial and you are in a very tight corner. How will you feel, or how will you um, cope? So teach them these things on time. Don't wait for you to be choked up with work before you can start teaching your students. I do get messages from apprentices all over, from different states in Nigeria and beyond, complaining of the boss attitude to them. But then that's a talk for another day, right? So when you are teaching your students how to do all of this, indirectly you are building your brand, because there will be a time you will not even be the one to sew for long, and they will be the one helping you to produce your jobs. You will only be there to supervise and to give some finishing touches and perfect looks, right, on the clothes. So when you start doing this, I have mentioned to you, you will notice that you are solving 50% problems you might encounter alone. Now, after that, you also teach them how to draft on fabrics. Please don't use paper as the drafting material. Paper will not allow them have a real feeling of the drafting processes. Though there is nothing wrong for a first timer to use paper, you can now introduce him or her to fabric, because the earlier they start getting used to fabric and start getting used to everything about the realities of sewing, the better for you. Some persons can draft on papers very well, but once you give them fabric, they start fidgeting, they start getting scared of what to do. So teach them with fabric and with Telos chalk, and don't use the normal whiteboard blackboard chalk to teach them. Use the standard Telos chalk to teach your students. Then after that, you teach them as well how to cut straight lines with rough fabrics, because the scissors, to handle the scissors seems to be easy, but it is not that easy, right? So after this, you can now teach them how to pedal the machine, be it manual or industrial. After which, you teach them how to run straight lines. Straight lines, you can draw straight line like 10 and ask them to sew it straight. You can now draw circles like 10 circles rotating around each other, and ask them to sew a perfect circle for you. You can draw triangles and ask them to sew the triangles, maybe 10 lines inside the triangles, using the machine footer as a guide to give space on each of them. After that, you can draw irregular shapes like S, V, Q, R, star. Now, the importance of these irregular shapes for them to sew is to make them become flexible when they are threading or sewing the real fabrics, because they will eventually meet similar shapes in the course of their sewing. So the earlier they learn how to sew straight lines, curvy lines, V-like lines, L-like lines, the better for you and for them as well. So when you have gotten to this stage, you might use a week or two, or a month rather, to run all of these trainings for them, and then give them surprising jobs. And don't forget that you are meant to cut clothes in their presence as often as possible. I also received some reports, some bosses cutting clothes in the absence of their students. It is very, very shameful, and it's very, very shameful and terrible, hiding knowledge from students that paid you. Even if they did not pay you, as long as you have accepted to train them, please open your heart and train them to the last, no matter what the circumstances might be. Financial involvement should not be a limiting factor for you not to train anybody that has passion for this business. Because if all of us are to pay for knowledge and services we got by free or for free, either by proxy or by reality, we might not be able to pay for all of this. So open your heart, train your students to the best you can. Give them assignments to sew. You can start from giving them shorts to sew, Ankara shorts, shirts, before they go into the real fabric. For example, for those that make male clothes, right? For the female sections, you give them skirts, maybe pencil skirt to sew, and then before you go into corset and bustier, blouses, peplon, and every other female outfits, right? So when you are doing this, and the easiest way as well to train them more is to allow them have recordings of classes that you teach, for them to refer back to these videos or notes whenever they are in their homes, or whenever they are needing some knowledge on that particular aspect. So when you do this repeatedly, you will see them picking up even without your knowledge. And don't also forget that there are levels of rate of assimilation which is unique to each individual. So give room for some people that are slow in assimilation, and also don't castigate them and don't limit the possibilities of them being a good designers tomorrow, right? These are more, I just said now, are what I learned through experiences. I am not teaching you from any theory, rather from my experience of being a fashion coach and fashion tutor and a tailor for so long. If this video gave you some insight and knowledge, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. It is absolutely free of charge. And comment, tell me how much this video must have impacted on you, and also share and make sure you encourage your students to go and search for more knowledge online. Don't limit them to whatever style or pattern of sewing you have. Tell them to go and search for more knowledge online. This will even help you to develop them in a broader version or vision. So don't castigate any method that they learned online or whatsoever. Like I said, I have gotten a student that called me and said to me, boss, that my oga used to have issues on female trousers. I told him, tell your oga, when he asked me how do I sew my female trousers, I said, and whenever you want to sew female trousers, measure the person's hip. Make sure you divide the hip by 4 and subtract 1 for a female trouser, and then use the answer you got for the crouch. But if it was to be a high waist trouser, divide the hip by 4, add 2 inches or 3 inches or 3.5 or 4 inches, as the case may be, to the answer you got, and use for the crouch depth. Don't still forget to deduct the band measurement from the total crouch depth you got and use for your crouch for the female high waist trouser. So when I told him this, he took the knowledge to his boss. The boss refused to accept the knowledge. He said, no, leave it, it doesn't work. I have tried before, it doesn't work. Just to castigate or just to play down on the what's it called, the contribution the boy wanted to make to his brand. He wanted to play all I too know. Then after a while, when he finally made that same clothes he was making for that same customer, the lady still complained on that same crouch issue. The crouch being too tight and she not being able to walk or climb a bike or sit properly when she puts on the clothes. So the woman now begged him to take his time and redo it with another material so that it won't have any issues. Right? The woman rejected the fabric and they had to go and replace the fabric and to redo the material. It was now at that moment he now called the guy. Okay, come. What were you saying yesterday or the other time about a method you learned online? And the guy showed him my video. He was able to do that and it came out perfectly well. The guy called me, was so happy that he was able to assist his boss today in his office. So imagine such situation that the student was not making an upfront research or search for knowledge. What would he have done learning from such boss that limits his knowledge to only what he learned some years ago? You keep on learning on daily basis. Like people do say, upgrade is a must. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this video must have impacted so much on you. Thank you guys for watching. Do have a lovely day ahead. Bye bye.